Welcome to this week's Spokane City Council update. I'm Councilmember Michael Cathcart. This week, we approved a number of items, including a reauthorization of a false alarm program through the Spokane Police Department, which is intended to cut down on the number of unnecessary calls our officers have to respond to. In addition to that, we approved funding for an overtime program for our officers who have been riding on local buses during the lockdown phase of COVID-19 because of some additional security concerns that the Spokane Transit Authority had expressed to the city. And we also approved the mayor's pick for the new human resources director within the city of Spokane, Amber Richards. She is a former director of the civil service program here in the city of Spokane, and she also served as a logistics coordinator at the Emergency Communications Center during the height of COVID. Another ordinance that was brought up this week that had been deferred a couple of times is an ordinance regarding homelessness and continued sheltering options within the city of Spokane. That was approved on a 6-1 vote. The other measure that was brought forward this time and had been delayed a number of times, in fact, going back to December, and finally was voted on a couple of weeks back and then vetoed by the mayor, is the mosquito ordinance, which has to do with certain noise machines outside of some businesses in downtown Spokane in particular, but also in some of our business centers. There were multiple components to the mosquito ordinance being brought back this week. The first was to approve a delayed enforcement of the ordinance should the veto be overridden by the council, and that was approved on a 7-0 vote. And that means that this ordinance won't be enforced for at least 60 days and perhaps longer, depending upon when the downtown police precinct is opened to the public. And the other component to that, obviously, was the veto override itself. And a majority of the council, in fact, 5 votes, did decide to override that veto on a 5-2 vote. And so that ordinance does now go into law. And that is this week's City Council update.